Hey, what's up you guys, it's me Luke and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary and critique videos every single week, so if any of that interests you, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe and turn the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload. Alrighty guys, today we are back with my Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star After Special series, and today we are doing our commentary and review of episode 4 in the series, which was titled The $20 Million Deal with Jeffree Star. If you have not been keeping up, I actually have a playlist with all of the videos that I've made so far on the new series that Shane is doing with Jeffree, so I will go ahead and link that playlist down below so that you can go ahead and get caught up on the drama. Alrighty guys, so I'm pretty excited for today's video. I honestly didn't know if I was going to be able to film it because I woke up and watched the video, but it was storming horrendously. It would not stop raining and the thunder was so intense that our homegirl Mother Nature just knew how much I needed to film this video, so she subsided the storms, put it away, and graced me with the sun so I could go ahead and film today's video. So without her, this video would not be possible, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it, mama. Yeah, anyways, I'm also really sick right now, so if I look like trash and sound like trash, well, I always do, so it's not because I'm sick, but like, if I look even more like trash and sound even more like trash, it's because I'm sick, okay? But anyway, enough about me. This isn't about me. It's about Jeffree, Shane, and all of the drama surrounding it. We've got a bit of tea to spill. Something to do with James Charles and Jacqueline Hill. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know that I wasn't a massive fan of episode 3 in the series, and it wasn't so much because of what was actually in the episode, but more so because of what was not in the episode. And that was because I went into the episode with expectations, because at the end of episode 2, Shane gave us a teaser of what was to come in episode 3, and then it never came. So, that was disappointing. However, with this episode, he did not give us a teaser for it, so I honestly didn't know what to expect. I had no expectations going in, and I think that was really good because I actually enjoyed this episode. This episode doesn't have as much drama as the first two. It was more business-centric, but because I wasn't going into it looking for drama, I still enjoyed it. But don't get it twisted. I mean, the video has Jeffree Star in, so you know there's some drama in there. That's for sure. Anyway, let's just get started. So the video starts off with Shane and Ryland in their living room, and Shane receives an email with all of the different sample logos that he could use for his new cosmetics brand that he received from the team from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Now, I thought it was really funny how dramatic this entire section was. Like, don't get me wrong, Shane and Andrew are always dramatic, and I usually live for it, but the music was so dramatic, the way Shane was acting was so dramatic, the sound effects were so dramatic, even Jeffree was being dramatic, and I was like, y'all, it's not that deep. Like, you're just choosing a logo. You have plenty of options. It doesn't matter if you don't like any of them, Shane. You could just find another one. I don't know, it was just kind of weird, but like, nevertheless, I did enjoy it. However, it just was stretched out too long. Like, it was like a 4-minute segment of him like going back and forth with these logos, and I was like, okay, we get it. Like, let's just get on with it, especially because we already know what the logo looks like. If you don't know, Shane and Jeffree just came out with Shane's new merch a few days ago prior to this episode, so we got to see what his logo looks like there. So it wasn't exciting, it wasn't suspenseful, because we already saw what your logo looks like. That's something I've been noticing with the series, is like them creating suspense about things that we already know. So it's like you're creating suspense for no reason. Like, we already know what your logo looks like. So that was kind of like, do you really need to drag it on for 4 minutes? But you know, whatever. Like, the beginning of the episode wasn't too hot for me, but towards the end I really enjoyed it, so we'll get to there. But before we do, there was also a 7-minute segment of Shane and Ryland going to their old home, and do not get me wrong, this segment was so cute. I loved seeing Shane and Ryland go through their home, and as they walked into each room, there were flashbacks to scenes from those rooms when they used to live in that house, and seeing like the juxtaposition between the way it looks now and the way it was back then, and then just taking a big fat trip down memory lane. And do not get me wrong, that was super cute. I loved it. I'm all about that mushy gushy shit, except I saw a lot of people online were not. I'm noticing something with Shane's videos is it'll always be really good, but there'll always just be something that doesn't make sense within the episode. Like, this episode was very much about the business and about finalizing the palette, and while that was a really touching segment that I enjoyed, it just made no sense with the episode. It kind of just seemed like a filler. Like, it was just chucked in there, and it kind of ruined the flow of the story. Like, we started off with the logo, and then we had this whole 7-minute segment of them in their house, and then went back to the business. I was just kind of confused as to why it was there, but nevertheless, I did enjoy it. I just don't think it was a very smart filmmaking choice. But you know, that's just the film student in me. So then after that touching segment, it just kind of abruptly transitions straight back into the business, and we get into the nitty gritty of it all. You know, we get some numbers, we get some figures, and whew, they are a lot bigger than I anticipated. So Jeffree and Shane talk with Jeffree's business guy about the figures that they're going to need. So obviously they have to like purchase all the products before they sell it, which is very risky because you don't want to purchase too many if they don't sell, but then if you don't purchase enough, then they sell out. Although brands typically like to sell out anyway, because then it creates more of a drive and a want for people to want to get it when it restocks. So that was an interesting part as well, just to kind of gauge how much they're actually going to get. And whew, that number was huge. We'll get into it. So Jeffree and Shane get on the phone with Morphe, and they want to do an exclusive deal with Morphe, where the only other place where you can purchase Shane's new palette besides JeffreeStarCosmetics.com is with Morphe. It'll be the only physical store that you can get it. So obviously this is a really prized commodity for Morphe, because I mean, this palette is huge. You know, so many people are invested in it because I mean, Shane's got all of his fans, Jeffree's got all of his fans, and then you have all of these people watching the journey of the palette being created. So a lot of people are going to purchase this. It's a really big deal. So by them giving it to Morphe, you know, it's a really big deal for Morphe as well. And they kind of talk about that and talk about how, you know, Morphe's going to step it up. Like if they want to have this exclusive deal, they need to offer them something worth signing with them for, because they could go with anybody else. So, you know, we got to see the business side of things. I thought it was really interesting to listen to the business call. I wonder if, I mean, they would have had to disclose to Morphe that it was being recorded, but I thought it was really interesting, you know, to get that background and hear all of the business jargon and stuff like that. You know, I do study a business degree. How many times can I talk about what I study? Anyway, I'm just trying to relate shit back to me. Does that make me a narcissist? Anyways, so I just thought that was really interesting. I also thought it was really funny how Jeffree and Shane were like being so immature while they're in the middle of a business call. Honestly, me if I was on a business call. But yeah, they were like throwing a little bit of shade Morphe's way. Like anytime Morphe was dancing around the subject, they would like pull these faces and roll their eyes and stuff like that, which makes sense because you could tell that Morphe was kind of pandering them a little bit for various reasons, which we'll get into. But before we do, there was a segment where Shane and Jeffree listened to Rich Lux's new music video. And if you don't know who Rich Lux is, he's a pretty popular drama channel here on YouTube. While it was an enjoyable segment, once again, like the house thing, it was just so random. Like they were just talking about business and then they suddenly were like, oh no, let's just watch the Rich Lux video. And I had no problem. I thought it was really funny and everything. However, I do watch other people's videos on the series, and I've heard a few drama channels not complain, but kind of mention how it's weird or interesting that the only drama channel that they keep mentioning in the series is Rich Lux. Like Shane has included Rich Lux segments or sections in the videos for every single video, but doesn't talk about any other drama channels, which does come across very biased. I personally couldn't care less. I don't consider myself a drama channel, but it is something worth noting, and something that's interesting is like, it's just strange how they keep including Rich Lux so much in all these episodes and nobody else. Like to me, if I was a Rich Lux viewer, I wouldn't be able to trust his opinion on Shane or Jeffree because it would seem inherently biased since he has this relationship with them and he's supposed to be like someone who reports the news. But like honestly, I really couldn't care less about that. I thought I would just mention it since a lot of people have been talking about it. Something else that I thought was really interesting is that throughout this episode, as they're talking about the release of Shane's palette, they actually interwove all these different shots of Jeffree dealing with the release of his Blue Blood palette, and I thought that was a really smart film tactic to kind of not foreshadow, but just kind of show how dramatic and intense the release of a product of this magnitude is when we're talking about the release of another product. I just think that was a really smart choice. You know, we got to see what it could potentially be like for Shane, and it was really interesting as well to see the behind the scenes of that, because obviously that was a huge makeup launch, and to see Jeffree's nerves and everything behind that, I just think it's so cool seeing all this behind the scenes. I'm really appreciating the business side of this more now that Shane didn't necessarily promise any drama in this episode. Sorry, I'm just salty. I don't like being promised something and then not getting it. Okay, false advertising is one of my pet peeves. Another thing I thought was interesting, but something I also had a problem with, there's a segment in the video where Shane talks about how he went to Morgan, Ryland's sister, and asked her what type of makeup she likes, and he titled this section like market research, and I have an issue with that. I mean, like I said, I study business and I major in marketing, and you can't do market research with one person, let alone two, because later on they asked one of Jeffree's employees. Like, they should be doing bigger samples of marketing. You can't get one person's opinion. Like, that's not indicative of everybody else's. I feel like they needed a bigger sample size in order to do their market research correctly, because Morgan talks about how she only uses neutral shades, but obviously there's not everyone out there who's like that. So I don't know, I just personally feel like they should have gotten more people's opinions, and it had some effects throughout the end of the episode that were kind of a negative result of the small market research that I'll get into. So yeah, I don't know, I just kind of had an issue with that. That's not proper marketing research if you only have one person's opinion. But then again, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. But then again, this video is supposed to be the behind the scenes. Is there a behind the scenes to the behind the scenes? Anyways, alrighty, and then something that I didn't touch on in the previous episode as much is the finalized merch. Now, a few days ago, Shane Dawson released his merch, and it sold out in under 30 minutes. I literally didn't even get a chance to get anything. So they showed off the merch, and it looked really cool, and I honestly was really impressed with the way the merch turned out. Although I would have been really interested to know how many units of the merch that they purchased and how much of it they sold. So I hope they'll go ahead and speak about that, because I mean, that's part of the business as well. Okay, so now this next part of the video is where we get into the really nitty-gritty part of it, where we get into the drama, if you will. So let's get sipping. That was so cringe. Anyways, so in this section in the video, they're talking to Morphe about the potential release date for the palette. Now we do have an official release date for the palette, which is the 1st of November, which is very exciting. That's literally in 14 days from the time that I'm filming this video. So that's exciting that we have that, you know, everybody starts saving. So they're talking about the release, and Morphe's asking them if they might be able to push the release date up to October. And then Jeffree tells his business guy to mute the call so that Morphe can't hear them speaking. And then Jeffree talks about how Morphe probably has another influencer's release coming soon. Maybe Jaclyn Hill, maybe another big influencer, James Chihuahua. So that was, you know, interesting. Morphe's trying to finesse the way around their release so that it doesn't clash with anybody else's. Because let's be real, no other beauty influencer stands a chance at the Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson collab. So they just knew that that was no good idea. And then later on, we discover that the influencer in question is in fact Miss James Chihuahua. So if you guys are not aware, James Charles just released another palette, except you probably weren't aware because it looks exactly like his first palette. So James Charles released his James Charles X Morphe palette in November of last year, and he was supposed to release another palette for his anniversary in November of this year. However, due to Shane and Jeffree insisting on releasing theirs on the 1st of November, and James Charles would have not been able to stand a chance against them, Morphe had to push his release date up to October. And there's also been a lot of controversy surrounding James Charles's palette, and fair enough, because literally it is such a scam. Like, he likes to act like it's not a scam, but it literally is. It's just a smaller version of his palette. Like, it's the exact same shades, and then it has a mirror. And the fact that him and Morphe made such a big deal out of this, like they had promotional videos, they had all this type of shit, like it's the exact same palette except smaller. There's nothing interesting about that. And something else that was kind of interesting is that the Morphe person on the phone kind of revealed something that does not bode too well on Miss James Chihuahua. So James said that he'd been thinking of this new idea or this new palette or known about it for 9 months, yet they're busy speaking to the person, and the person on Morphe says they know they're going to do something for James Charles's anniversary, they just don't know what it is yet. And this was what, April, June, March, whatever, I don't know. It was definitely not 9 months ago. So James, why are you lying, sis? Huh? Why are you lying? Why are you saying that it took you 9 months to think of it? Let's be real, honey. It was the easiest thing ever. All you had to do was condense the size. But anyways, I digress. So there was also a little indirect shade thrown at other beauty influencers like Manny Mucha. So Manny MUA released a Halloween palette, apparently. I don't know. I don't really keep up with him. I just heard it through the grapevine. And then in the video, you know, Jeffree and Shane are talking about how they don't want to release something for Halloween because that's tacky and that palette wouldn't be memorable. So this is indirectly calling Manny's palette tacky and unmemorable. So at a certain point in the video, we get to see the factory process behind the Blue Blood palette. And that was really interesting as well because that's obviously kind of what Shane's process will be looking like. And you know, it was really nice. The factory was very professional, clean, hygienic. You know, I think Jaclyn Hill could take some notes on that. And this is when Jeffree's talking about releasing Blue Blood, mind you, and he's talking about how when he releases a palette, he kind of liaises with the other big brands, because if he releases his palette, it's going to take business away from another brand. So that's why often brands who are not as big or popular as other brands will release their products before the other brand, because they know that once that brand releases their product, then that brand won't stand a chance at competing with the other brand. I just confused myself. How many times did I say bread? Alrighty, so fast forward a little bit and we get to see all of the shades in their entirety. If you remember in the last episode, they had to go ahead and check it off, maybe increase the pigments of some of them. So we see the final shades and they look so beautiful. They are so pigmented. The colors are so rich and creamy, and I just want to stick my fingers in there. And then after the eyeshadow, they went ahead and did the lipstick shades, and once again, they look so beautiful as well, so rich. We got to see a couple of the campaign shoots, and that was really interesting as well. I loved seeing that. You know, I'm just a sucker for the behind the scenes of all of this business stuff. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and get into the figures and the money now. So they're on the phone with Morphe, and Morphe gives them their estimates, and they said that they want to go ahead and purchase 500,000 units for a total sale of $20 million. Oh my god, and like that's not even the last of it. Then Jeffree's business guy worked out their sales with Morphe and with Jeffree Star Cosmetics and how much all of that would cost, and he said in total from both deals they could make $35 million in the palette's initial launch during the holidays, meaning that Shane could go home with $10 million profit. Y'all, that type of money is literally so intangible. Like, I can't even picture how, like, what would you even spend that money on? Oh my god, that is so much money. Alrighty, then after that, they go to Jeffree's office so they can get the final logo for Shane, and they get the final arrangement for all of the shades. Now, here's another thing that kind of annoyed me, because once again, they did their marketing research with one of Jeffree's employees. Just first one, and she was giving her opinion on the palette and said that she wouldn't use one of the green shades, and then Shane just straight up removes it. And literally, I've seen so many people on Twitter so annoyed with this. It is such a beautiful green shade, and no disrespect to this girl, but how can you change the entire palette and remove a whole ass shade just because one person didn't like it? Like, that's what I'm saying about this market research, is they need more market research. And while I agree that, you know, some of the things that employee said were correct, like not everybody is going to love all these crazy colors, but then not everyone will love the nudes. Like, you need a blend of the two. They need more people's opinion. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would have loved that green, and they just removed it. Like, you need bigger sample sizes. But anyways, moving on, Shane gets really struck because Morphe says that they predict that he can sell 1 million palettes in the holiday launch, which is just blows my mind. His mind was blown. He was worried that he wasn't going to be able to sell them, and honestly, I understand his concerns because he's never sold a lot of things and he's not really a business person. But when you really think of the magnitude of all of this, like, you take Shane's fans, take Jeffree's fans, you know, you take into account the fact that Jeffree Star Cosmetics is a huge brand, and then you have Morphe, which is a huge makeup outlet and brand, and then you have all of the exposure from the series and how invested people are in the production of this palette. Like, I think they'll definitely be able to sell 1 million. Like, I am so excited to see how all of this goes down. I think it'll be an unprecedented moment in history, and I don't think any of us know how it's gonna go down. Alrighty guys, so then Shane and Jeffree realize that, like, this is it. The palette is done. They have the formulas, they have the shade colors, they have the names, they have the arrangement, they have the logo. I mean, I'm sure they have the packaging sorted. They just haven't shown that to us yet. But like, this is it. Like, this is a pivotal moment in the series. You know, they have completed the palette essentially. So obviously the next few episodes are probably just going to be about the release of the palette. So like the campaign shoots, everything leading up to it. I'm sure Shane will have a nervous breakdown because it's such a big monumental moment in his career. You know, I wouldn't blame him. I probably would too. But the thing is, we have 5 more episodes in the series, and the last 2 have been very business centric. And while I do enjoy the business side of things, I honestly can't see how he's going to stretch it out to 5 more episodes. And I can't see myself being interested in 5 episodes more of like just the business, because like at the end of the day, Shane in his teaser trailer showed the drama. He showed Dramageddon with James and Tati, and so many people are expecting that. And while he did mention in a story on Instagram that he wanted to make the series more business centric, you can't promise something to an audience and then not deliver it, because that's going to leave a lot of people being disappointed and empty. And that's what a lot of people are waiting for. I see a lot of people talking about it, and I have been talking about it too. I really want to know the behind the scenes of everything with the James and Tati Dramageddon, and even the Manny Dramageddon, the first one, and Jeffree's stance in it and Jeffree's role in it. I would just love to see that, because as much as makeup and the business is a part of the beauty world, so is the drama. So I really hope that as much as we enjoy the business, that we get some of that too. But on a final note, you know, we have 5 episodes left, and Shane's kind of been uploading once a week now, and that means that the palette is going to come out in 2 weeks, which means that the series would still be going on once the palette is out. So I think Shane is actually going to film part of the series once the palette is out and show kind of that process, which I think will be really interesting. Hopefully we get some figures on how much money they actually made from it. And he also mentioned how he wanted to have a really big meet and greet with Morphe of his own, like Jeffree did in the first episode of the series. So who knows? I think that could be the last episode of the series. I don't really know what to expect from this point out, because I don't know. Are we going to get the drama? Are we going to get the tea? Are we not? Who knows? But at this point, I'm running out of tea, and Shane, I'm so thirsty. Please. Just give us a little something, just a drop. But anyway guys, that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you thought on the video. I would love to know your thoughts and your conspiracies on the conspiracy palette. And yeah guys, that's it for me in this video. If you've not already, please make sure you subscribe and turn on the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload. And as always, my social media is just linked down below if you'd like to go ahead and follow me. And yeah, that's it for me in this video guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you in my next one, and of course I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you're on the world. Bye.